Do you want to hear how my school almost burned to the ground? Wait till the end to find out more. These are the best revenge stories from my school. All right, so let me tell you about the time I got revenge on the guy who made my life miserable for almost 2 years. This isn't your typical, I stood up to my bully and everything was great kind of story. Nah, this was calculated, petty, and I regret nothing. Let's rewind to the start of junior year. I was your classic background character. Good grades, minding my business, not really trying to be cool, but not a total loser either. But somehow, I ended up on Brad's radar. Brad was your typical high school menace. Big ego, star of the soccer team, and his personality was just as punchable as his face. He wasn't some misunderstood villain, he was just a jerk for the fun of it. It started small, tripping me in the hallways, calling me names in front of people, swiping my lunch tray and dumping it on the floor. The usual high school cliché, except it was my life. I tried ignoring him. I tried going to teachers. Guess what? Teachers loved Brad. He's such a leader. Boys will be boys. I heard it all. But then one day, it wasn't just me. He humiliated this freshman girl, Emma, who had a stutter. Made fun of her during lunch while the whole table laughed, and I just sat there, doing nothing. That was the moment I decided, no more. If teachers wouldn't stop him, and if standing up to him in the hallway would just end with me getting shoved into a locker, then I had to outsmart him. And believe me, I had a plan. Brad had one weakness, his ego. He cared about 3 things: soccer, his girlfriend, Madison, and his image. So I figured, why not attack all 3? Our school was hosting this big event called Academic Spirit Week. Every year, the final event is a Jeopardy-style trivia competition between grades. Nerdy? Yes. But the whole school shows up and the winners get out of finals for a whole day. And guess who volunteered to be the junior class team captain? Yep, Brad. Probably thought it'd be an easy win and boost his popularity. What people didn't know was that I wrote the questions. I was one of the volunteers on the academic committee, and buddy, I crafted questions like I was plotting a heist. I slipped in sports trivia, but obscure soccer stuff Brad wouldn't know. I made the pop culture questions about niche indie bands no one cool enough for his clique would ever listen to. Even the meme questions? Straight out of the depths of Reddit and Tumblr, not TikTok. I wasn't setting him up to lose, I was setting him up to choke. Competition day arrives, whole school packed into the gym. Teachers, parents, even the local newspaper was there because it was a community event. And Brad struts onto the stage like he owns the place. Flashing smiles, high-fiving people, winking at Madison in the front row. The game starts. First few questions are easy, so he gets cocky. He answers without letting his teammates help. Shows off. Then the questions shift. Who won the UEFA Champions League in 2004? He blurts out, Barcelona? Wrong. Which meme featured a white cat sitting in front of a plate of vegetables being yelled at by 2 women? Blank stare. Doge? Wrong. Crowd laughs. You could feel the energy change. His teammates start whispering, trying to help, but he keeps cutting them off, thinking he knows better. Final round. Seniors versus juniors. 1 question to win it all. And here it comes. In what year did Shrek 2 release in theaters? Now, for normal people, easy question. But Brad? Too cool for animated movies. He hesitates. Then says, like 2010? Buzzer. Wrong. Senior captain slams the buzzer. 2004. Game over. Seniors win. The gym goes nuts. Brad? Red-faced, mouth hanging open. You could almost hear his ego shatter. But I wasn't done. Because remember, Brad's girlfriend Madison? Turns out she was a huge Pixar and DreamWorks fan, publicly. And Brad just failed a basic Shrek question in front of everyone. Cue the breakup rumors the next day. Oh, and soccer? Well, turns out some college scouts were in the audience, and they didn't love the temper tantrum Brad threw on stage when he tossed his buzzer and stormed off. Coach benched him for the next 2 games for poor sportsmanship. And here's the cherry on top. The following Monday, Brad cornered me by my locker. I braced myself, expecting to get shoved or insulted. But all he said was, "Did you rig that thing?" And I just smiled and said, "Maybe you should have studied." He didn't say anything else. He just stared, then walked away. And just like that, the bully who made my life hell for 2 years never bothered me again. Do I feel bad? Honestly? A little, but only because it took me so long to stand up for myself. Sometimes the best revenge isn't fists or insults. It's letting someone destroy themselves with their own arrogance. And let's just say, for the rest of the year, whenever anyone saw me coming, they didn't see a background character anymore. They saw the kid who took down Brad. Now, the second story about how the school almost burned. I probably shouldn't be telling this story, and I'm honestly surprised it didn't end with cops showing up at my house, but here goes. This all happened during my senior year of high school, and before you judge me too hard, just know that some people deserve to get burned. Well, metaphorically speaking. Mostly. See, at my school, there was this one teacher, Mr. Holloway. The guy was the worst. Imagine a dude who wakes up every day and thinks his entire job is to make teenagers miserable. Gave pop quizzes for fun, marked people late when they were literally seconds past the bell, and called kids out in front of the whole class for the smallest mistakes. But the real issue? He would humiliate students, like publicly, reading out failed test scores, mocking people's answers, even straight up laughing if someone stumbled over their words while reading. I tried to stay under his radar, just grinding my grades and waiting for graduation, but then he crossed a line. He accused my best friend, Leo, of cheating on a paper. Leo's not some genius, but he worked his butt off on that essay. Stayed up 3 nights straight. And Holloway? Didn't even let him explain. Gave him a 0, reported him for academic dishonesty, and as a result, Leo lost his chance at a scholarship he desperately needed to afford college. Just like that, his future gone because Holloway wanted to flex his tiny power. I was done. No more sitting back and taking it. I wanted revenge, and not the weak kind where you prank someone and they laugh it off. I wanted Holloway to fear for his job, his precious career, maybe even his life for a split second. So here's what I did. Every year the school has this stupid science fair where the whole gym turns into a fire hazard from all the ridiculous projects, half of which don't even work. You know the ones: baking soda volcanoes, potato batteries, half-built robots. But this year I was going to submit something a little more volatile. I teamed up with this kid named Trevor who was into chemistry, and let's just say Trevor didn't care much about following rules. I told him my plan, and surprisingly, he was in. The goal? Build a demonstration that could, under the right or wrong circumstances, create a lot of smoke and maybe even flames. Nothing deadly, just enough to cause chaos and trigger an evacuation. We called it the Thermal Combustion Reaction Simulator. Sounds harmless, right? Technically, what we built was a scaled-up version of a sugar and potassium chlorate reaction. Usually it's done on a tiny scale in a controlled lab environment. But we scaled it up, like a lot. I'm talking about enough to fill the entire gym with thick white smoke in under a minute if it went off at full power. But here's the genius part. I wasn't going to set it off myself. Oh no, too obvious. I rigged it so that Mr. Holloway, during his mandatory walk-around and inspect projects session, would accidentally trigger it. See, the reaction was controlled by a pressure plate hidden under the demonstration table. Step on it too hard, and boom, instant smoke show. Day of the fair arrives. I act normal. Smile at teachers, nod at classmates, and wait. The gym's packed. Parents, students, teachers everywhere. Holloway's doing his rounds, clipboard in hand, with his smug little smirk like he's some science expert. He approaches my booth. "Explain this to me," he says, already sounding bored. I give him the rehearsed speech about thermal energy and combustion rates, all while praying he steps where I need him to. And sure enough, like clockwork, he shifts his weight and plants his foot directly on the pressure plate. There's a slight click, almost too quiet to hear. For a second, nothing happens. Then, phoomf, a blinding flash of white light, and then smoke. So much smoke. Thick, choking, rolling clouds of it, pouring out from under the table, rising fast, filling the entire gym. People start screaming. Alarms blare. Someone yells, "Fire!" Total chaos. Parents grab their kids, students bolt for the exits, teachers are yelling over each other. And right in the middle of it, Mr. Holloway is coughing, panicking, waving his arms like an idiot. The fire alarms finally trigger the emergency sprinklers, dousing the gym in freezing water, ruining hundreds of science projects, soaking the floor, causing a few people to slip and fall. Absolute anarchy. And I just stood there, acting confused, wiping my eyes like everyone else. Firefighters arrived within minutes, but by then the smoke was already clearing. Turns out, the reaction didn't ignite anything flammable, thank God, but it did cause enough panic for the school to evacuate and cancel the entire fair. Damage report? Gym floor ruined by water damage. Thousands of dollars in ruined equipment. Science fair permanently canceled from that year forward. And Mr. Holloway? Completely humiliated. The principal chewed him out in front of the fire chief, asking how the hell a science teacher didn't notice a dangerously unstable experiment right under his nose. Holloway tried to spin it, saying it wasn't his fault, but it was too late. Word got out that he was the one who activated the experiment. Parents complained, students laughed about it for weeks. He lost his credibility overnight. And the best part? I never got caught. Trevor and I dismantled the pressure plate during cleanup, and since the reaction itself was technically legal, just not recommended at that scale, there was no evidence linking it back to me. Holloway spent the rest of the semester on edge, looking over his shoulder like he expected the walls to collapse at any moment. He stopped calling kids out publicly, stopped handing out random pop quizzes. Honestly, he acted like a completely different person, scared straight. Leo never got his scholarship back, but I like to think I leveled the playing field. And as for me, I graduated 2 months. If we get 100 likes, I will make the next part about the biggest school fight ever. Subscribe and like.